Joining us right now on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is my homeboy, the host of the Locked On Browns podcast, Spencer German. Also, my co-host on 92.3 The Fan every Saturday morning. On the Wake Up. What's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? Good to be here. How's everybody holding up?
Spencer, who's more likely to bring in coffee or beverages, you or Earl, on a Saturday morning?
That would probably be Earl. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't even pester Earl about that. But if it was going to be one of us, I think it would be Earl. I'm too out of it in the morning.
Major.
I'm not.
Coffee
No,
behind the glass right now.
All right.
I was going to say you would be the one that you'd be like, hey, you want me to get you a drink on the way in? And I would completely blank on it. It's too early in the morning for me.
That's because Earl's got kids. He knows you got to be looking out.
He's got kids too.
Spencer's got kids?
I have one. But Earl's
Spencer,
more experienced at this point.
You're 22 years old. How old are you?
34.
You're 34? Not that that's old, but I thought you were much younger than that. All right. I'm out of the loop. Well, Earl's had kids longer, so there you go.
He's more seasoned. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's more seasoned in that type of situation. Go ahead, Mike.
Shedeur Sanders starting against Carolina Friday night. Go.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to it. It might actually end up being the most watched Browns preseason game of all time, just based off of, we know the attention Shedeur obviously brings in from outside of Cleveland. Plenty of people following his story and following this Browns team just based off of the fact that he plays here. I know I'm certainly looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be interesting because he once again today didn't sound like took any reps with the first team. I think they reserved most of those for Flacco. And so it sounds like he'll be out there with at least some of the starters on Friday. Not all of them. Kevin Stefanski said before practice that he's going to err on the side of playing or sitting most of the guys that are going to be your starters this season. I know he mentioned specifically like Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman won't be out there, which is kind of interesting because if you have Shedeur Sanders out there playing with the ones, you kind of want to see him go with his two best weapons in the passing game. So I found that kind of interesting. But certainly, listen, I've said it for a while now. We've kind of understood where this depth chart was at, that it's Flacco and Pickett in some order, and then Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And I think there's something about Shedeur that I just think he's a gamer. I think when he gets out there, what we've seen in practice is one thing, but I think these preseason games are really his chance to shine, really his chance to show what he can do. And I'm looking forward to seeing if he really kind of just has that star power about him on the field that we saw in college, where when the lights are turned on, when he's going against another team, he's going to be his best. So whether he's going with the ones or a bunch of backups or whatever, and he is going to be playing against the Panthers ones because they've already said that they're going to play their starters for a little bit. I think it could be a really, really fun night for him and a chance to really maybe turn some heads and get the coaches giving him a little bit more opportunities.
Spencer, I know everybody wants to talk quarterbacks and it takes up a lot of the oxygen in the room, but just from a curiosity perspective, who else are you interested to see play Friday night?
Yeah, I'll start with the wide receiver room because, as I said, like Kevin mentioned today, they're not going to play Jerry Jeudy or Cedric Tillman. And somebody that I think has actually had a really strong camp is Jamari Thrash. And so seeing him get a chance to sort of run as a first-teamer in this type of setting, I think is going to be interesting as he's kind of out there doing some different things and seeing if he can actually translate what he's shown at practice onto a field against another team. I think Deontay Johnson in that room is another guy people should be paying attention to because he has really stood out at camp, sort of scratching and clawing his way back into this league after how things went last year. And if he has a standout preseason as well to sort of accompany that, I think it's going to pave the way for him to see plenty of playing time this year and be an important piece on this offense. So certainly that room is going to be one that I have my eyes on. The running back group, what does Dylan Sampson look like in sort of the first competitive setting that they're going to play? I think any of the rookies make a ton of sense. Carson Schlesinger has been absolutely outstanding during training camp. And listen, that we all know, given that Jordan Hicks retired, that they're throwing a lot at him. They're putting a lot more on his plate. He's going to be wearing that green dot this year, it seems like. And I think in some ways, you don't want to lose Jordan Hicks, of course. But in some ways, I think there's almost like a positive spin to it where getting a chance to see if he can handle all that at once, he's going to sort of grow pretty quickly here, have to grow up pretty quickly here. And I'm fascinated to see how he kind of translates to a preseason game as well. I don't know if Mason Graham's going to play. I'm assuming the rookies will get some playing time, at least somewhat, because they want to see all those guys out there. But obviously Mason, Harold Fannin Jr. is another guy, how they sort of utilize him in the offense. The list kind of goes on and on, but those are some of the key ones. I also am interested to see how the safety rotation sort of looks behind Grant Delpit, who I'm assuming won't play, and maybe Ronnie Hickman if he does play, because that's been a position, admittedly, I've caught glimpses of, but I haven't necessarily tracked exactly how they've sort of brought those guys in. So I'll be sort of watching that as well. And then I guess I'll give you one more in the form of that defensive end spot opposite of Myles Garrett, how they rotate those guys. I'm going to guess that when Kevin Stefanski says most starters won't play, I'm going to guess that doesn't include Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire. I think they'll give both those guys some reps on Friday to see just, if they can continue to build upon what they've done at training camp.
Yo, Spencer, you've seen pretty much every practice the Browns have had so far. Outside of Denzel Ward, of course, Martin Emerson Jr. is hurt. Just curious, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your overall confidence level in the Browns DB group overall?
I think losing Martin Emerson obviously is a major blow to that for me. I still have some confidence in that group just in general when it's headlined, of course, by Denzel Ward. I probably put it at like a 7 to 7.5, if that makes sense. Like I probably would have been a little higher, especially with the way that group was playing to open up training camp. But I do think they take a little step backwards without Martin Emerson Jr., who I was expecting to have a bounce back season this year. And it's crazy. Like the day he got injured, he talked to us in the media, and he was talking about that. He was very adamant. Like, I know last year wasn't what I wanted to put on tape. I feel really good about coming out this year and proving people that I'm more of what I was 2 years ago. And so it was weird and kind of eerie that it happened the same day he sort of spoke on his bounce back season. But listen, I know there's been a lot of trade talks involving Greg Newsome, but having him and knowing you can bump him outside, I think is a nice luxury for this team. And so I think the lessened confidence comes from, okay, what are you going to do at the nickel spot? Who is going to be the guy that sort of mans that, or how are they going to handle that? And right now it looks like it's going to be sort of a rotation of different ideas. I think you're going to see Cameron Mitchell there a bunch, but also when the Browns run 3 safety looks, you could see like Ronnie Hickman step down or some of these other safeties step down as well. And so how they navigate that will be fascinating. I think that's what gives me a little bit of pause in thinking that they did take a pretty decent step back in losing Martin Emerson Jr.
Spencer, we see the quarterback stat tracker on social media after every practice, and one thing that you bring to the table right now that many of us don't is you're actually at every single open practice. You're obviously not in Carolina today. You're joining us. But when they're in Berea, you are there. So if you could run through quarterback by quarterback real quick, doesn't have to be a super long answer, but what have you seen, what have you liked, what have you disliked from each of the 4 guys competing to be the Browns QB1 in Week 1 against Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Flacco got off to a little bit of a slow start. We'll just kind of go from like top to bottom on what I sort of picture the depth chart being right now. I think Flacco got off to a little bit of a slow start, but the last couple weeks he's really picked things up. And the concern with Flacco is what the concern with Flacco we all know is going to be when he takes the field, right? Is he going to be able to protect the football? I think that is something the Browns are trying to guard against this year, given how last year went, especially with Jameis Winston. And so he's going to have to certainly make sure that's a priority for him, whether he plays in the preseason or not, but certainly once the regular season starts, if he's the guy starting Week 1. With Kenny Pickett, I've had my fair share of concerns about Pickett since they traded for him. I understand that they see him and view him as kind of their Sam Darnold reclamation project. And I think there were some practices before he had the hamstring issue where he was showing some confidence and building some confidence and, showing that there was something there that the Browns saw and that they were hoping would translate to the field. I think for me, though, Pickett was always going to have to do a little bit more convincing for me because we've seen him have really good training camps in the preseason before. A couple years ago, he had a brilliant preseason, and there were people saying he was like an MVP candidate that year before the season even started. So, and now for Pickett, I think the problem's just going to be, can he get back into this thing because he's lost some time with this injury. And I do feel like based on how they've kind of set this up for this week where they're taking care of both him and Dillon Gabriel, I think next week, the joint practice with the Eagles, we're going to see a lot of Kenny Pickett, and that'll kind of be his chance to maybe get back into the competition a little bit. I think Dillon Gabriel, I understand the things that they like about him, and I think those things do come out on the field. You can tell he's able to handle a lot. His experience in college, being in college for as many years as he was, he picks up things pretty quickly. He has the strong arm, and you've seen that at times. I actually thought he was starting to maybe turn a corner a little bit in terms of being more consistent and making some of the tougher throws. And then he had that day late last week
Friday,
where he struggled, and then it kind of translated into Saturday where he struggled again. And now he's dealing with the hamstring issue of his own where he's only doing 7-on-7, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I do think the issue with him is just when he misses, he seems to miss pretty bad. And some of that could be in relation to his height. Some of it just might be the accuracy is something that he needs to work on. But I think he's still kind of getting a feel for things at this point, even though they feel he's more advanced and ready to handle certain things that maybe Shedeur Sanders isn't. And obviously that brings us to Shedeur. I think Shedeur has been probably the most consistent of the quarterbacks at practice, but we also know he's only been doing it with a lot of the 2s and the 3s. I think we saw even on Monday's practice, they did sort of like a hurry-up offense type thing with like 25 seconds on the clock. And it was this instance where you saw the 2 really good throws, one to Deontay Johnson, that one that you guys were showing there in the highlight to Luke Floria. But then they sort of did another, they reset it with the hurry-up offense trying to get in field goal range. And you saw him take like 2 sacks. And it was like, okay, so some of that is some of the stuff that I think Shedeur still needs to work on. And that might be, like, those are the things in the classroom that might be holding him back a little bit from getting more reps with the ones and that they just haven't quite seen him come around on yet. I'm not saying he can't do those things, but there's clearly something in their minds that is preventing them from feeling like he's ready for more at this stage of his rookie year.
Spencer, 24 days till Ohio State plays Texas, number 1 versus number 2 in college football. You rarely see that at the beginning of the season. I know you do a Buckeyes show with my nemesis, Nick Wilson. But give us a little preview of what you're expecting from the Buckeyes in that game and for the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Like you said, you don't normally get number 1 versus number 2 to start off the year like that. So I can guarantee you, well, I'm going to guess that the Hasms will be in attendance for that one. I'm going to guess there's going to be a lot of team scouts in attendance for that one. And I think like the biggest thing that sort of the biggest headline going into this game really is like, what are either of these teams' quarterback situations going to look like? Because I know everyone's touted Arch Manning as the next great quarterback, and a lot of it has to just do with his last name. But the fact of the matter is, like, he's only played really like a handful of games at this point in his career at Texas, and so we don't really know the full picture for Arch Manning. We obviously don't know the full picture for Julian Sayin, other than what people have sort of seen at practice, and there's a lot of raving about how strong his arm is, and that's great. But the Buckeyes obviously lost a lot last year, so I don't know. If you're putting me on the spot of like, you know, which way do you lean or something like that, I'd probably say Texas. I think Texas just has like a deeper roster right now, and they're bringing back a lot of guys. They're sort of more in a situation that Ohio State was in last year than what Ohio State is this year, where I think they had to replenish a lot of different positions. But Ohio State, we know, is loaded with 4- and 5-star talents. Yep. They're going to be fine. Even if they lose that game, you know, I think they could easily win out like the rest of the year, although I think Penn State's going to be a bigger challenge this year because they bring a lot of guys back. But that's definitely going to be a fun game. Everyone is going to be locked in for that one for sure, just to see like what these teams sort of look like right out of the gate.
All right, Spencer, good stuff, man. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Vince.
Absolutely, guys. Yep. Hope to see you guys soon.